right. So today's guest is Miss Shay Rowbottom, who is a LinkedIn extraordinaire. Shay, I've followed you probably since the beginning of my own LinkedIn journey. I had 99 contacts a little over a year ago, and I found you, and I thought you were so talented and interesting. And I think I mentioned you remind me of Dion. It's Always Sunny. Like you just bring in so much fun and interesting content. So welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. That's so funny about Dion, because I love that show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Oh gosh, I think I binge watched that when I was in middle school and it first came out online.
You were in middle school? Okay, so long time. I definitely think you need to have some kind of a cameo role at some point because my goodness, your videos are so interesting. Not only do they provide content, they're just fun to watch.
Oh,
I
thank you.
remember the first time I think you were doing something about working at home, and the skit was hilarious, and I was
Yeah,
hooked at that point.
awesome.
So, what's amazing about you, though, is not only can you make amazing jokes and provide incredible content in terms of marketing, um, slowly throughout the time I've been watching you, you've been just opening up about a lot of difficult issues. So I wanted to kind of talk about those difficult issues. Obviously, this podcast, we kind of deal with mind expansion and we really value plant medicine. So you came out with that journey, and oh my, your story was haunting, inspirational. It left me speechless. I sent it to all my friends. So, A, thank you for sharing your story.
Yes, thank you for
Took
sharing the show.
took a lot of courage to go there. So I wanted to kind of maybe start from the beginning of the journey with ayahuasca. So ayahuasca, what led you to believe that that's something that you wanted to explore?
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for having me, by the way. This is an awesome cause that you're for, and I totally support it. You know, I had heard of ayahuasca. I had been known about it for a few years. It was nothing I wanted to touch. I was a little scared. It was like I had, heard that it was just really intense. People wearing diapers and shitting themselves and stuff. I
Yes.
was like, I don't know about this. But as time went on, in my 20s, I had a pretty unorthodox 20s. I started a business when I was 23, but I was in a relationship with a narcissist. It was really toxic. It was really draining on me. And it eventually led me to hit rock bottom with my depression, with my anxiety, which I kind of always had. It was just really pushed to the surface in my mid 20s. So, I had met someone through LinkedIn actually who said he knew a shaman who served ayahuasca. And it was fascinating to me. I was like, okay, I've been hearing about this now, maybe, but I was still like, nah, like I'm not ready for that. That's just crazy. And then a few weeks later, like it just hit me. Like I mean, they say that you get the call to do plant medicines, and I believe in hindsight, looking back, that's exactly what happened. I just realized like I need to go do this. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, now is the time. I'm going now. And my boyfriend, and I go over all this in the show too. If you listen to the beginning of my podcast, the first 8 episodes in order is a breakdown of my story. But yeah, my boyfriend was shocked. He was like, oh my gosh, like you're just going to go do this. But I got the call, I was ready. He was really scared, he didn't want to do it yet. So it's different for everyone, but I just decided, you know what? I need to try something so drastic and so outside the box and so scary for me because I'd given up on all other healing modalities. I'd read books, I'd done the Tony Robbins thing. I'd seen therapists, traditional talk therapists for many years. And I was just done. I really was thinking about suicide on a weekly basis and decided, you know what, if I'm going to die anyways, let's go try this ayahuasca. Let's give it one last go. And I did have a gut feeling that it would be a huge breakthrough for me. But I had no idea what I was about to uncover.
Yeah. Now, if anyone has followed your social media, like your handle is Shay Shine. I mean, you look so peppy and happy and sunshiny. And I remember when you had your podcast, I was like, oh, okay, sure. It's going to be rainbows and butterflies. And, when I did my ayahuasca journey myself, I know it was uh, the dark night of a thousand souls. Like, it was
Yes.
incredibly harrowing for me. And there are those people that said, oh, I heard angels singing to me and it was
Hmm.
beautiful. But your ayahuasca trip sounds like it was brutal.
Yeah, it was.
So take us through that experience. You obviously did it 2 nights in a row, right?
Yes. Hmm.
First night sounded very difficult.
Yeah.
You went back for more.
Yeah, no, the second night was most difficult when I remembered about my parents, which I'll get into. So, this medicine is so intelligent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so intelligent. It knew the mother, which I'm sure your audience grandmother is what they call the ayahuasca. So she knew that I was coming. She knew that I was ready to receive these memories that I had forgotten about my childhood. And I actually had um so before we get into my journey, I'll just say, about 6 months, the year previously, before I had done the ayahuasca, I did start to really think, you know what? I really think I was sexually abused as a child. It just started to hit me more and more. I started to have memories come up of like sexual encounters with my friends when I was really young that just seemed off and weird. I was like, wait a minute, there's something here. There was kind of a memory that came in with my dad before but I kind of blocked it. I was like, no, like I didn't trust myself. I was like, that didn't happen. No way. And then every therapist I'd ever seen, because I'd seen many talk
Mm-hmm.
therapists, had always said, or had always asked, are you sure you weren't molested as a child? I just always said, no, I don't remember. I don't think so. So it really taught me a lot about repressed memories and the power of them, because someone could look at me straight in my face and say, do you think that your family ever molested you? And I would have been like, hell no. So
Wow.
yeah, I think there's just a lot of misunderstanding about repressed memories. It's not the same as like suppression, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this happened, I want to pretend it didn't happen, so I'm gonna drink and forget about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the same. Like, you still know it's there. This was like gone from the psyche, and it's especially common in children. It's very easy
Right.
for children to do as a coping mechanism. So the medicine, when I say it's so intelligent, I mean it kind of split up the dose of trauma that I was about to remember into 2 nights. The first night, it actually only showed me that I was molested by my grandparents, by both grandpas, actually, separate incidences. They didn't live together, they weren't friends. But I spent a lot of time with both grandpas, and particularly spent a lot of time at my maternal grandpa's house on my mom's side. So that was a shock. I was like, whoa, I was really young. I just remembered so clearly being a little girl in first memory that came up was my paternal grandpa in his basement. I was very young, like 3. And then it was my maternal grandpa, and also in his basement, which is weird. That's the go-to place to molest the kids. Go to the basement.
Right.
so
And
so yeah, go ahead.
what are the chances that what are the chances that all of this congregates in your family at the same time, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it is a high chance, because think about it. We attract ourselves. Energy
Mm-hmm.
attracts energy. So I believe my parents attracted one another because they both came from this um, very dark, narcissistic, incestual like family. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't even think they were conscious of it. I think
Right.
they just were young, they fell in love, but there's a reason they attracted one another. So
Mm.
of course it was no surprise their families were similar.
Right.
And so it's just like attracts like, and
Mm.
this is the family that I come from. So the first night was rough. I definitely cried a lot. I went through a lot of pain. I was like, okay, this all makes sense now. The promiscuity, I was a prostitute in college, like all these sort of like really bizarre behaviors made sense suddenly. after the first night, but it was very painful and I was very sad. And I had a lot of anger toward my grandparents. So the second night, I was like blasted open. You know, I had done the Aya, we had done the San Pedro in the morning, and then the second like night, I was like ready for more. I was like, okay, I'm open. I understand now. I'm getting clarity around my childhood. Like I'm ready for more. Like I almost went in with more questions the second night. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, what else? You know, what else am I missing here? And that was brutal. That was brutal. It was like Aya was warming me up. So when I say the medicine is so intelligent, I mean, I truly believe if I had just signed up for one night, I would have been blasted with everything all at once. But because the medicine's so intelligent, she knew I'd be there for 2 nights. She kind of gave me a dose the first night of just my grandpa's. And then the second night was like the full Monty. Like, no, you're gonna remember everything. And there's no way I can remember everything, right? It's fragmented, and in all actuality, these memories aren't designed to all fully come back because of how traumatic they are for a little child to go through. So um, I started to remember my dad. You know, I started to remember, oh shit, my dad molested me. And that was night number 2. And actually that my mom was there the whole time,
Mhm.
and she knew about it. And so that was, to me, the saddest thing ever. I did not want to believe it was real. I was
Mhm.
like pulling away. I was trying to get out of the medicine, which you can't do once it's in you.
Right.
But I was truly like, you know, no, like I'm having a bad trip, you know, I'm
Right.
hallucinating, you know. But it was like, no, like the medicine kept putting me right back into the memories, like, Shay, remember, this is what happened, remember. And I was like, fuck. And it was so painful. I purged a lot. There was also an incident in which I was an adult, in which my dad assaulted me, that I was forgetting. I believe that he drugged me in the memory. I couldn't move. I was 19. And I go over all of this in more detail in the show, so I won't take up the whole hour. But you know, I will just say that it is not. A lot of people think like, oh, these plants, you're just doing drugs, you're just trying to escape. This is the opposite of escaping. This is finally facing yourself and
Amazing.
finally getting a mass download of consciousness, a mass download of truth. And that night I was really sick. I mean, I threw up everywhere. I was in agony. I was in so much pain, but it's like because I never allowed myself to feel the pain as a child, because you can't as a kid cope with that. So you push it down, you repress it. And the second night on the ayahuasca, it was like for the first time in my life, I was actually feeling everything that little girl went through. And thankfully, I was with an amazing shaman and a really supportive group of guides to help me through it.
Yeah. Now, I think one thing that comes up, because again, you know, I followed you for some time. You are just refreshing, and a ray of sunshine. And, you know, even looking back at my own life, I feel like nothing that horrible has happened to me, but it is just so hard to even face things that are substantially smaller. Do you feel that anyone can handle ayahuasca, or would facing these demons from your past destabilizing for some people?
Yeah, no, I don't think everyone can handle it. I think that I am an old soul. I am an
Mm-hmm.
insanely strong person. I was ready to remember. I was ready to gain access to this information that I had repressed. Um, I yeah, I see it in my own family. You know, a lot of the members of my family are really just not ready to face it because it's painful. You know, it's
Mm.
ugly. It's hard to get through. I mean, in all actuality, it's the best thing for humans, because on the other side of that pain, that growth, that discomfort is your freedom. But a lot of people are just all about like the short term happiness. Nope,
Yeah.
I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Nope, I don't want to do that. You know, I've always been a seeker. I've always been a truth teller. I look at the long term. And I could see back then, a year and a half ago now, when I was 26, I could see my life was not going in the direction I wanted. I was very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, you know what, like I'm going to go through this short-term discomfort to hopefully find healing on the other side. So yeah, no, it makes sense. I understand completely why people repress memories, why children repress memories. Like I get it 100%. And I think that's why the medicine calls people when they're ready. You know, you can
Mm.
never force someone to do psychedelics. That's just not how it works. Like, they have to be ready to receive this information. And I also believe that just because you do plant medicines doesn't actually mean you'll recall repressed memories or traumatic events that you
True.
purposely, you just because you do the medicine alone isn't enough. Like, you also have to be ready and be the context for receiving it. So I empathize with people. I see that people are just really scared. You know, I think a lot of us were really traumatized as children, even if you weren't molested. You know, it's not all overt abuse, like hitting or sexual abuse. A lot of times it's just, we shame children, we shame them into submission, and this shame-based parenting culture that we have literally kills the authenticity and the spirit of the child, where they kind of adapt this we see a lot of like people pleasing in society, this sort of like codependent toxic behavior, because people are so scared to get in trouble. You know, they're so
Mm.
scared of being uh, killed. I mean, that's literally like, childhood is a hostage situation. You're literally a small
Mm.
little child. Like, it's
Yeah.
terrifying, you know? So I feel that we just have a great lack of understanding around parenting,
Mm.
where we don't realize what we're actually doing to children. And it seems normal because it's the way we were raised. But ultimately, it creates people who are very scared. People who
Mm.
grow up as adults, and even though it's safe now and mom and dad aren't around to hurt you, like, they're just so scared to face the truth. They would rather
Mm.
just submit and follow the crowd. I do believe I am uniquely strong, and that's what I came here to do. I came here to show others they can also be strong, and it is safe now to speak your truth. You're not going to get hurt, and you're not going to get in trouble.
So for people that are ready, they want to
Yes.
explore their paths, but they're very afraid. What is your tips and tricks to help them feel that courage and move on, move forward with it?
Yeah, the first thing I will say to that is, like, it's okay to be afraid. You know, it's actually, it's okay, and it's normal to feel fear and doubt. These are all natural, normal human emotions. So I would say the first thing is, don't shame yourself for it. You know, just like allow yourself to feel and get through it. But really, the act and the art of manifesting is all about picturing and envisioning what you want and
Mm.
giving energy there. So a lot of people talk about prayer. You know, prayer is manifestation. Like,
Mm.
as long as you're asking God what you desire, you're thinking about it. You're putting energy toward that. You know,
Mm.
I want a big house on the beach. Like, I'm going to think about it every day. I'm going to
Mm.
picture it. So I would say, for anyone who's really scared or concerned, but you definitely want growth and you're seeking it, just envision what you believe is possible on the other
Mm.
side. Just envision the good things. Look at people like myself who've made a life for themselves and who came out of the darkness. Look at other examples like Tony Robbins, I mentioned, people who are light workers in the space. Look at what's possible and put more of your energy as much as you can. I understand, like, worry and doubt and these things are going to be there, but as much as you can, pray to God. Or if you're not religious, just think about the life that you want for yourself. Envision who you could be on the other side of that healing, and that's where you put your energy.
Do you feel that everyone has the capacity to heal from
Yes.
from these types of traumas?
Yes, I believe everyone has the capacity to heal. I think really the main issue is we've created a society in which it's very difficult for people to heal. It's not
Yes.
supportive of people healing. We tend to really condemn the truth.
Mm.
Um, there's a lot actually going on right now in the world with that. A lot of doctors coming forward about coronavirus and what's, how we could be handling it in a much more sustainable way,
Mm.
and they're getting censored, they're getting shut down, they're getting banned, they're getting hated because they're telling the truth.
The
There's a
truth.
quote, I say it in my podcast: the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. So healing and going down the path of healing is all about getting real with yourself. It's all about exposing the truth. And when you live in a society that kind of depends on everyone upholding this fakeness and upholding this, keep up with the Joneses, anyone who starts to get curious about healing is very likely to revert back when they
Mm.
start to see, oh wow, there's not a lot of people actually supporting me in this, and
Sure.
it's a lonely road. But that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to show others like it's safe. More and more people are starting to come to the path of plant medicines, to the path of alternative healing modalities. You know, people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. People are waking up. Something is wrong with the world. Why is 1 in 4 women in this country on antidepressants? Why is suicide on the rise for young adults 16 to 24? I mean, that's a serious issue. We need to start getting real with ourselves about the way we raise people in this society. What are our values? What are our morals? It has largely been narcissism. And when I say narcissism, I mean um, keep up with the Joneses. I mean, you know, I'm going to raise this kid to fit in. I'm going to raise this kid to value more fitting in and being liked and looking good than actually feeling good and following the authentic heart that they have and their own path. So I would say yes, anyone can heal. It's just very difficult in the current society that we have because of our values, but it's shifting. And I do believe, I'm a businesswoman, you know, I always talk about what's in demand. You know, video marketing is in demand, this and that. Healing needs to be in demand. You know, we need to start demanding healing and getting honest with ourselves about how sick we are, and also to understand that it's safe now. You know, perhaps you have been a part of the darkness. Perhaps you have been the abuser. Perhaps you have been the toxic one. We need to also create safe spaces for those people, because keeping them in the dark and shaming them and treating criminals like animals really only just keeps them hiding and keeps them not sharing their darkness, so that more and more people end up getting abused. So it really comes down to a mass consciousness shift. But yes, I do believe anyone is capable of healing.
It's interesting that you mentioned criminals because of the type of work that I do in plant medicine. We work a lot with veterans, and a lot of times, you know, veterans are assigned to, or our military is assigned to do what they are supposed to do to defend us and defend our interests. And a lot of them get traumatized by the sort of atrocities they have to do as a part of their job. So it takes such a heavy toll on them. And it's so sad that as a society, you know, we send them to war and then they're on their own.
Right.
By and large, they're not getting the treatment that they need with PTSD that they have as a part of inflicting that pain to someone. So both
Yes.
sides of the equation can be painful. And I
Mm-hmm.
think as a society, we haven't really addressed that or talk about it. And I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, that's also a really kind of unconscious thing that we all blatantly accept in society is war. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we literally condone sending our young sons to battle to kill people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like that's a human
Yeah.
life. Like you're killing. And I get it, you know, like every country has their stuff. We got to protect our borders. I am proud to be in the United States of America, the greatest country on earth, but at the end of the day, like it's also a reflection of where we are collectively on earth. Where is
Right.
the average consciousness of the average human on this planet? We still think that war and going and actually physically killing people is going to make a difference. I mean, it comes back to that whole power versus force thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason all of these great leaders, Gandhi, you know, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, you know, there's a reason that they said like violence is not the answer, you guys. So to me, war in general is just a very low consciousness, low vibration solution to
Mm-hmm.
very real world problems. But it's very it's really underestimated what happens to these soldiers that come back, men and women, these
Mm-hmm.
soldiers that come back from combat. I mean, we really need to start getting real about how traumatic what they go through is. And I know that a lot has opened up around plant medicines, and specifically I believe it was a study on MDMA I saw for healing soldiers and their PTSD. So I'm really excited to see the future of where that goes as well.
Right. I am right now in North Carolina, and it's a prohibition state, so marijuana is not allowed, and it's
Is
you
it
know,
medical yet or no?
no, and
No? Oh,
it's
wow.
you know, and Fort Bragg, so it's a big military community, and Fort Bragg is here, and it was just funny. We were talking with one of the friends that marijuana is illegal because it's dangerous, unlike the war they just came from, that
That's
was not
so
at all dangerous for
crazy,
them.
right? And
So,
alcohol is wildly legal, sold
right,
on every street corner, bars. I mean, I'm from Wisconsin where there's more bars than like any other state. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Alcohol is poison. To say that marijuana is dangerous is it's by design. I say that on my
right,
podcast. It's by design. These plants are illegal for a reason
right,
because they actually heal people. They would actually wake people up to their own divinity so that we stop fighting one another and feeding a system that only cares about greed, that only cares about wealth. If human beings start to remember and recognize how powerful we are, I mean, it's game over for this greed driven corporate society. And that's exactly what the powers that be at the top, the 1%, the federal banks, that's exactly what they don't want.
mm,
So we need to just also get very honest about that and stop pretending we live in a world where the people with the most power genuinely care for us. They don't.
right,
Yeah.
right. Now, obviously, you in your podcast is amazing. Anyone should listen to it. It's
Thank you. Thank you
n-
so much. Yeah, it means a lot to
just
me.
you're such a great storyteller on top of the fact that the story you share is very personal and deep, but like I felt like I was hanging on to every word that you were saying. So
Mm.
everyone should listen to it first of all.
Thank you so much. Thank
But
you.
I wanted to explore because I think a lot of particularly women go through this. How did it feel coming out about such deep, dark revelations? And how did it affect you and your relationship with your family? And take us through
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So it's like interesting because I underestimated how much it would take a toll on me emotionally to share that. I knew it was time. I mean, I was surprised how quickly I got the call to now release the story, but with everything going on, with coronavirus, the child sex trafficking that's now being surfaced and everything, I just realized, you know what? I think there's people out there who really need to hear this. Um, but there's been a lot of guilt since the
Mm,
release, like guilt for like, oh, what am I doing? I'm putting my family on blast. Like, there's a lot of like fear. Honestly,
mm,
it's actually all of the emotions I felt as a little girl. Why I
mm,
couldn't tell on my family because of fear. I was scared. I didn't want to die.
mm,
So it's like it's like I'm in that little girl space again. I've been
mm,
feeling a lot of that again, a lot of that fear. But I already didn't talk to my family. I cut them out years ago, even before I had the conscious memories about the sexual abuse. Like, I knew that they were toxic. It was like right there in front of my face. Like, okay, I really got to get away from these people if I
mm,
want to create the life that I know I want, because we're not going in the same direction. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of just more of the same. They say that I'm mentally ill. They say that I'm a liar and that I just want attention, which is also funny because like I already have
I was gonna
attention.
say you get a
Yeah,
lot of attention.
I already
Yeah.
have attention,
Yes.
but no, I definitely want everyone to picture my biological father raping me. That's the attention I want. It's just like whatever. But
Oh, yeah.
it's more or less how they've always treated me. Like
Mm,
they're coming down a little harder right now, but it's more or less what they've always said. They've always
mm,
said you're crazy. They've always gaslit me because I've always been very authentic. I've always
mm,
followed my own heart and not followed the crowd or what they wanted from me. I've always been very outspoken, and that's very dangerous
mm,
when you're surrounded by a community of people who literally their existence is dependent on everyone keeping up this falseness. So I
mm,
was always very threatening to my mom. And yeah, so it's just been more or less the same of what they've always said about me, which is that I'm not trustworthy and I'm on drugs or whatever they might say. It's hard, at the end of the day. Like, I wish I had a family that was loving and that I could go home to and all of that,
mm,
of course. But I think that people need to realize at the end of the day, as much as family is really closely connected to us biologically, DNA, karmically, you could say, all of those things. At the end of the day, like, you really do just need you. You really
right.
do just need yourself. That's the only person that needs to believe in you is you. And that's what I did. I just had this knowing of like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. No one in my family really ever supported me when I wanted to be a musician, even
Mhm.
when I wanted to be a businesswoman. It's just very like, why aren't you doing college? Why aren't you doing the traditional route? So I was right. In the end, I was right because I followed my gut. And I feel the reason so many humans are unfulfilled is because they turn off their own intuition. They
Mhm.
turn off their own gut. That's what we're taught as children. Don't listen to your intuition, listen to me, the parent. And there's all these people who are just living their lives, even as adults, they're living their lives for their family, for their parents. um I think it's bullshit. It was hard for me to get through, but on the other side of that, I was actually finally able to attract people who do love me unconditionally, who do give me the support that I need, who do believe in me and my vision, and that is my family. So family is love, not blood. That's what I always
Mm.
say.
Yeah. What is your message to people that are enmeshed? Because I think, particularly in our generation, I feel like, because I see a lot of my friends that are having kids now, and I feel like they're parenting very differently than our parents did, right?
Yes.
I felt like our parents were the me generation, right? Like they really wanted to explore their own needs and interests, and they weren't
Right.
so concerned about their children. And I definitely see that the new generation of parents are putting their children first, sometimes
Yes.
to the detriment of that child. Sometimes the
Yes.
child is very spoiled,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's a shift in mentality. um, what is your, I mean, I see so many people that are guilt tripped by their family all the
Hmm.
time to their detriment. What is your message for them, or how can they unmesh themselves?
Um, yeah, and that's a great point too about the parenting. I do believe that it's been for a very long time just narcissistic parenting. Like you said, our parents just cared more about how we could serve them and meet their
Mm,
needs than vice versa. That's narcissistic parenting or shame-based parenting. It's the same thing. So yeah, I do think there's a lot more awareness now. Thank God. I do believe our generation is way more conscious about the way they talk to their kid. Don't hit your kid. Don't yell at your kid. Basically, we just need to stop projecting our own unhealed bullshit onto our kids. And I
mm,
think our parents' generation, therapy was taboo. No one worked on themselves. Everyone just
sure.
drank away their insecurities, drank away their own wounds. And it doesn't go away. You
Mm,
actually have to address it. Otherwise, you're just going to project it onto the kid. Or in the case of my dad, and he was sexually abused, he never dealt with it. He never got therapy. It was just like, it was just buried. And then it's like, what happens? You get your own kids, poof. The cycle continues. So I do believe that it's shifting, and I'm happy for that. I also think we need to look at the rates of why so many millennials don't want children. I
mm,
get it. There's many factors. People are more career driven now. Uh there's no law. It's a lot harder to sustain like a one income household. So a lot of people just feel like they can't afford kids, college debt. There are many factors, but I also think we need to consider the factor of trauma. We're not
mm.
having kids because like we all subconsciously hated being a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I have a kid? Like, why? So it's twofold. It's, I don't trust myself to be a parent because I was so wounded as a child. I don't want to repeat that, so I'm just not even going to try. And the other factor of that is when you're raised by narcissistic parents, where it's all about them. You don't have a childhood. You don't actually get to
So
be a
true.
child. So you grow up and you're an adult, and the last thing you want is kids, because like we're all like living our childhood. We're like in our
Yeah.
20s, 30s. It's like, dude, this is my time now to have my childhood. I'm not
Right.
going to have a kid. I want freedom. I want my time. So I really think we need to seriously look at the rates of why so many millennials don't want kids and consider it's because of our own trauma that
Sure.
so many generations before us just ignored. And then the other factor is, or you mentioned, what can people do about, I'm sorry, what was the question? You asked something about people being enmeshed with their parents. I
Yeah.
want to go into
So
that.
people get, I mean, I fell into that. People feel guilt tripped all the time by,
Yeah,
they're adults, but they get treated like children. And um, it looks like, at least based on my experience, the parents don't change, right?
right,
So
right.
you would have to change your approach.
Yes.
What is your suggestion to unmesh yourself? You still, let's say you still want to have a relationship with them, but you don't want to be guilt tripped all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that the first thing to consider is sometimes you just can't.
Hmm.
Sometimes there is no relationship.
Hmm.
There's a really great book. It was actually one of the first things I read when I got into the studies about narcissistic parenting. It's a book by a woman named Susan Forward, and it's called Mothers Who Can't Love. Mothers Who Can't Love. Yeah, it was an amazing book. It really helped support me and understand my own mother and what she was dealing with. And it's just, this is not about blame. This is just the way she grew up. Her mother also didn't love her, and so on and so on. So it's just a repetition compulsion. People just do what they know. But in that book, it broke down that, there are some mothers and some parents in general where you're better off just going no contact, as sad as it is.
Sure.
I do believe my family fell into that category for me. But, boundaries are boundaries. Start setting boundaries with your family. And if you want to keep them in your life, do it as much as you feel is not being an energy suck or being harmful to your soul. Boundaries are important. A lot of families won't accept boundaries. That was my family. Obviously, there was no boundaries,
Sure.
so I just decided to leave completely. And the other thing is, I think this is really important, is, sometimes on our healing journey, when we start to grow, when we start to self-actualize, all we want is to take our family and our loved ones with us.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
can't.
true.
Yeah, you can't. You have got to save yourself. You have got to focus on yourself. You know how they say when the aircraft goes down, you got to put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. A lot of people, they start to learn these healing modalities. They learn about plant medicines. They learn about meditation, theta healing, and they just become a feedback machine to their family. They want everyone else to do it with them.
Sure.
Oh, guys, this meditation, do it. It's like, that's not the way to heal. You need to do it yourself. You need to go disconnect, do the work yourself. And inevitably, what ends up happening, you actually become the example for your family, where if they're ready, they'll see you and they'll start to follow on their own. So I would say on your healing journey, just don't try to take your family with you. And if you truly feel like they're just holding you back from your healing journey, maybe total disconnection for a while is the answer. And as sad as it is, like, family is, I have a family, I have an amazing family now in South Florida of friends and people who support me, life coaches, my clients, my followers. I mean, I really don't feel alone. I don't feel lonely. So I think there's just a lot of biological ties, which I totally understand. You're related, you want love, you want that all to work out, but sometimes you just got to save yourself.
Right. Yeah. I think someone was mentioning that there's your biological family, but then there's also your soul family, right? And your soul
Exactly.
family, you get to choose and you get to put together, and you're the architecture of that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So amazing. So I think one of the things that we talked about was this whole issue that child molestation seems to be rampant.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going up, or do you think it's always existed and we just didn't know about it?
Yeah, I think it's always existed and we just haven't known about it. We haven't been dealing with it. Um, I believe that it's really common, really common. I'm not saying every kid ever, was molested, but, one thing that I didn't share on my show when I told my story in those first 8 episodes, um, but I'll share with you now, is that when I was on the medicine and when I was remembering all of my own molestation, I got a very clear message from grandma where she said, grandmother ayahuasca, for those listening, I'm sure your audience knows the lingo, but she said, Shay, this is everyone. She said, this is the world you live in, like, this is everywhere. And I was like, what? I didn't understand. I'm like, how could, like, I have many friends who had great parents who weren't molested. Like, what is she talking about? This is everywhere. It was very clear. She literally said to me, Shay, this is the world you live in. This is so normal, not healthy, but it's normal. And a year later, in the advent of coronavirus and all of this information starting to surface around Hollywood, the elites and the pedophile rings, the sex trafficking in this country, that almost 1 million kids a year go missing in this country. Yeah, there's definitely something going on. And so that message from Aya, while I didn't fully resonate with it at the time, now, and this is how the medicine works, right? It happens years later. You can still be getting messages from the medicine. That's what happened, is now I'm realizing what she was talking about. She was trying to tell me, like, no, this is the world you live in, not in a sense that every single kid is being molested, but in the sense of, like, the people with the most power running this planet condone and practice pedophilia. And it is the purest form of narcissism. Narcissism is feeding off the energy of others because you cannot create your own energy. Feeding off the energy of a child is the most potent form because children are the most pure, the most untouched love and light, straight from source. So when you molest a child, you can get a lot of power from that. You can get quite the charge. And I do believe that I do believe that the leaders of this planet are very corrupt. I do believe that there's a huge awakening happen where people are realizing like something is off, the energy's off, but that's what it is. It's energy. It's kind of like an unspoken mass narcissism, and a lot of it is results in pedophilia. Not all of it, not all narcissists are molesting kids, but it's the same energy. It's that energy of I need to feed off of others to feed myself. And it's just what narcissism is. It's just a complete lack of empathy for other human beings. That's a child. I truly believe my parents just like, oh, they're little, they won't remember. It's like that's a human being. Like that's the yeah. And you do remember it. They say that all of your patterns and habits are actually downloaded before the age of 7.
Right.
Why did I become so promiscuous and why did I become a prostitute? Well, look what was going on for me before the age of 7. So it actually makes total sense. And I actually believe a lot more people were molested and can't remember, and also repressed it just like I did, are scared to face the truth, are scared to remember. And it's a really interesting time that we're living in, because a lot of my healer friends are saying that they're starting to have more and more clients remember being molested as kids. So I think it's like one person remembers, we all start to remember. It's kind of like breaking through this have you ever seen the Truman Show? The Truman Show. Yeah. It's kind of like breaking through. Yeah, breaking through the false reality. Like, wait a minute, how have we actually been living? So it's painful, but it's like the whole world is purging, and we are gonna get through this purge. And on the other side, I believe there's going to be a lot more freedom, a lot more peace, a lot more just consciousness between human beings, people who stop fighting each other, people who stop blaming outside sources for their problems, people who are able to regulate their own emotions, to go within. I mean, we are literally in the age, it's the rise of the healers right now. Everyone is healing, and it's creating space for more people to feel safe, to fit in, to now do the same.
Yeah. Now, I am one of those funny people. I don't have children of my own. I don't think I will ever have
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, this being one of them. But I'm one of those people that I'm notorious in telling my friends that have kids, if you have a girl that's under 18, don't post bikini photos. If you have a child, don't post naked photos. I know if like they spilled milk and cookies on their face, don't post those. And I know my friends make fun of me, but I have done a lot of research, and I know a lot of these things are ending up in large photographic caches that are basically used and are shared by pedophiles.
Wow. Yeah.
And you would never imagine that, because the picture of a kid eating brownies or milk, it seems so innocent, right?
Right.
So my friends always laugh at me because they think I'm ultra paranoid, but I always tell them I am not an expert, but look at this and this cybersecurity expert that says do not do those things. What are your suggestions as someone that has lived through this? How can, I mean, sometimes obviously your parent can be the perpetrator, but if you're an adult in a child's family, how can you look for danger signs, and how can you help them if you do find that?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to talk about sex. We need to talk about sex with our children. I mean, it sounds like the opposite, but no, this whole abstinence, don't ever talk about sex, don't have sex till you're married, you catch your little kid masturbating and then you shame them, that creates pedophiles, that creates the sexual dysfunction that we have in society today. We need to stop denying our sexual organs. They are our life force energy. They are beautiful. We need to stop not, oh, the V word, vagina, just say it, like vagina. Like we're literally
Sure.
we're programming kids to feel like sex is so shameful that they hide about it. And then they, maybe develop these fetishes because it's all hidden, and then they feel worse, and
Mhm.
then the fetishes get stronger, and then they become a pedophile, so it just keeps people getting abused. This culture we've created where we just deny sex. We need to teach children about sex. We need to teach them, this is what a vagina is. This is what a penis is. Eventually when you're older, you'll have sex. And there's actually studies that have showed that teaching kids about sex young, um, how do I say, it increases the age where they lose their virginity.
Mhm.
So there's like this belief that like, oh, we teach kids about sex, they're all going to be banging each other at the age of 8. It's like, that's actually not true at all. You teach kids about sex, they're educated, they're not in the dark and curious to go find answers on their own, where they do get very promiscuous and lose their virginity at a young age, or whatever you want to call it. It's actually the opposite. These people become more responsible with sex. I think it's the Netherlands, actually. Look up the Netherlands, the way that they
Yes,
do sex ed. I mean, they
actually.
teach like 6-year-olds about sex. They're just like,
Yeah.
this is what sex is. It's like, we need to stop shaming it. We need to stop avoiding it. I get it. I get that like some people might logically think that's the answer. Just like, don't ever talk about it, and then kids will never have it. It's actually the opposite. So we need to start embracing sex again. We need to start embracing female sex, especially because a lot of
Mhm.
sex ed is about like the man and the male orgasm. It's like,
Mhm.
women need to be treated equally, and need to know that if they have 10 sexual partners, that's not shameful. If a guy has 10 sexual partners, oh, he's a boss. But if a woman, we really just need to get
Right.
mature and stop shaming and denying sex. So I would say for any parent listening, like, I get it. You might think it's awkward. It's probably just the way that you were raised, that your parents didn't have the sex talk with you young, but you really need to just teach your kids about sex early on, and also explain, if an adult tries to touch you there, like, come tell me, and
Sure.
educate them about, you can feel safe telling me, even if they tell, because we know how pedophiles think. They'll say, oh, if you tell your mom, I'll kill your mom, or they threaten kids, so really breaking down, like, if this happens to you, you can tell me no matter what, it's safe. And that's actually another point I do want to touch on quick. You are more likely to repress sexual abuse if it's at the hands of your own parents. Think
Mhm.
about it. Kids who
Right.
have healthy parents that they feel safe with, if they go to school one day and the librarian molests them, they have safe parents to go home to. They'll feel safe going home and being like, hey, mom, this happened. Some might not. Some might still repress that, but it's far more likely that you'll repress it when it's your own parents, because you cannot simultaneously as a child believe that your parents are safe and loving, and they're also unsafe and incapable of loving. So you're going to
Right.
idealize, you're going to split, you're going to only see the good things in your parents, um, until many years later when you're an adult and you do ayahuasca and you're like, oh
Right.
shit.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
I'm surprised. Yeah, we have a friend who's a district attorney for Orange County, and prosecutes these sex crimes. And one of the things that she said that I thought every parent should know is that she said, use the term vagina, use the term penis. Don't call it something cute, because,
Yeah, it's stupid. It's just
well, I mean, it seems natural, right? Like, it seems natural to want to use a cute name, but pedophiles are using a cute name to basically destigmatize it to lure children in. So,
mm,
so I thought that was really interesting, because I would have never assumed it's appropriate to, tell a 2-year-old that's a penis. But she was saying for your child's safety, that's exactly what you have to do.
yes,
And I
exactly.
thought that was really interesting. So there's a lot, I guess, we can do as a society to protect our children. Do you feel
Yes.
this sex trafficking will ever come to an end?
Yes, I do. I believe that anything is possible, but we first have to believe it is possible. I do believe that we are in a great awakening. A lot of people are calling 2020 the Great Awakening. I actually like to call it the Great Remembering.
Mm,
Not just remembering, what happened to a lot of us as kids, but remembering who we really are as human beings, like how powerful we are. I mean, I have an interview tomorrow with my theta healer. She cured her stage 4 cancer from meditating, like literally going up and connecting to God. Like, humans have the ability to heal themselves. We are so strong, but we've created a system, an economy that depends on us not knowing our innate healing power. You know, we are healers. We are witches, but we're good witches. You know, I mean,
Mm.
I think the more people start to remember that and not be afraid of that, the more we can move toward a utopian world. There's always going to be duality between the light and the dark, but definitely at the level of sexual dysfunction, sexual molestation, and narcissistic abuse that we've been experiencing for centuries, perhaps, I do believe we're coming out the other end of it, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a way more beautiful, conscious, accepting world on the other side.
That's amazing. We talked about a lot of sensitive topics. Some people might want to find you, and can you, I guess, tell our audience how they can find you? And if they do have some of these problems, do you have any tools for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. This has just been a great conversation.
I was so nervous because I am asking very personal questions. So thank you for your courage.
No, yeah, it's okay. It's why I came forward, so that I could answer these questions and talk about it and help educate people. So, yeah, anyone who's looking to get in touch with me, you can just email me directly. It's me at shayrowbottom.com, me at my full name.com. But definitely follow me on LinkedIn. That's linkedin.com/in/Shay Rowbottom. You can find me on all social media, Shay Rowbottom. I do offer subscription-based healing services where we do monthly calls and we talk about our limiting beliefs, you know, what we're going through. A lot of people in the group are in business. They're trying to break through limiting beliefs in business. So I do help coach people through their own hardships and their own unresolved childhood wounds. So you can check out shayrowbottom.com/heal tribe to join Heal Tribe and get monthly group coaching from me. And then I'm also a marketer. So that's actually where I got my start on social media. That's how I grew my following, was digital marketing. So I help businesses create video content on LinkedIn to attract more leads and grow their revenue. So to learn more about that, again, you can always just email me or check out my website, shayrowbottom.com, to schedule a call.
Fantastic. So you're accessible, and if anyone is on LinkedIn, they have to absolutely follow you. You have so many nuggets of wisdom, and they're always so entertaining. So thank you for making that available on both ends. I don't even know how you do it, to be honest with you, because you're this amazing social marketer, and then also you can talk about such raw and difficult emotions and help people get past the it, which is very hard.
Thank you. Thank you, Tia. Yeah, it's also true though that some of the um most powerful people on the planet had to first go to the depths of the darkness to really learn about healing, to create their own, you know, kind of tool belt of modalities to become so powerful. So I really
Yeah.
do believe, as sad as, you know, one might feel looking at the events of my childhood and where I come from, I really believe it made me who I am. I'm really
Yeah.
grateful for it. I think it made me so driven, so powerful, so creative.
Mhm.
And for that, I wouldn't change anything. So for anyone
That's
struggling,
amazing.
feeling like just a victim to it, like I'll never get through it, how do I become powerful? Definitely reach out, because I'd love to help.
That's amazing. Well, I know you have a hard stop. I feel like we could have talked for hours.
Yes.
So thank you for jumping on. And I hope that in the future we can have another conversation, because I think there's a lot to go through. And this was very fascinating. So thank you again.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And I hope to speak soon then.
Absolutely.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you, Shay. Bye bye.